Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the stepson of Krypton.
And I'm Mantis.
In today's video, we are going to discuss and address the rumors about Lobo potentially being in the new Supergirl movie. Mantis, I know you love Lobo like I do, right? Not, I mean, purely platonically, but
uh yeah, we'll get into it here, but my interest has gone up a little bit based on this rumor. So
that might not be the only thing going up. But we'll get into the video and we will find out. All right, guys. So there has been it's becoming more widespread as the last 2 weeks have kind of passed. So once we got it kind of confirmed by some of the larger sites, we wanted to definitely do a video on it about Lobo, everybody's favorite DC character, coming in to the Supergirl movie potentially. Now, quick
yeah,
fun fact: Stan Lee, when asked who his favorite DC character was, is Lobo or was Lobo. R.I.P. Stan Lee. But
RIP.
even Stan Lee loved the guy.
What's your favorite DC superhero?
DC?
Yeah.
Lobo. Well, I don't know if you can call him a hero. My favorite DC character.
Yeah. I was discussing with you before we'd started this video because a couple of the articles that I'd found on this, I'd noticed that they were weeks apart. So I guess the latest one that I saw was from the comic book movie website, and this was by Mark Cassidy, and kind of what you'd mentioned, following up from an earlier rumor that was released last week. Hearing that Lobo is indeed set to make his DC debut in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And so, we had kind of were waiting for something like this. I know, again, both of us are kind of enjoy this character, the outlawish type, and being Superman fans. So it only makes sense to bring him in at some point. I didn't know if they were going to do it here. Technically, this would be, if he does debut in the Supergirl movie, that would be the second live film in the DCU. So it's pretty early on in the timeline of the new universe. The most interesting part about it, though, because an actor that has played characters in DC films before is the zeroed in bullseye of this article, as Jason Momoa is who all signs point to as who's going to be cast as Lobo. And it's worth keeping in mind that there is no official confirmation at this point, obviously. But the Aquaman, obviously played an Aquaman, Momoa was referring to when he indicated he was planning to leave the Aquaman character from the DCEU and make the jump to DCU. So those quotes were out there, and this just kind of is adding fuel to the fire, so to speak. So thoughts on good old Ronan moving over to
moving over Stargate to Atlantis reference for those of you who didn't get it early on in Jason Momoa's career. Now, funniest thing, so there is, and I will have it in here, guys, for you, don't worry. There's a video of Jason Momoa talking about interviewing for the DC project. He didn't know who he was what character he was interviewing for, or auditioning. I say interviewing, I guess it's kind of interview. He thought he was auditioning for Lobo. And he really wanted to play the character, and then they're like, "Oh no, it's for Aquaman," and he's just like, like it kind of threw him because like.
Well, I originally thought I was going to be playing Lobo in the very beginning. I got called in the office, and I was just like, "Well, do you know who you're going to play?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Lobo, yeah. Aquaman." I'm like, "Me? What are you talking about?"
Lobo. I will say, so Lobo came out the year I was born. in 83, and he got a redesign by Simon Beasley in the 90s that gave him that kind of rocker, grungy, bulked him up a bit. Now he's changed a little bit depending on who's writing him as far as powers and abilities, but it gave him that kind of punk metal, like riding around on the hog kind of a thing, that biker look. That's what kind of actually kind of revamped the character, and everybody became interested.
He looks awesome.
In Lobo.
That version, he looks awesome. I think it fits perfectly.
His original version, you know, had that kind of like purple and yellow leotardish kind of suit. Like he was just, you know, so Lobo is the last of the Valorpians. So now we say the Valorpians here. So that is pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths. Post-Crisis, when the character is redone, he is a Zarnian. So
the Valorpians and the Zarnians,
right?
Like this sounds like straight
names.
I was gonna say, like, I was joking, like it sounds like something off Men in Black. Like it's like those Valorpians are coming to kill. Like it's
observation. The heart of our little endeavor. Meet the twins, and Bob.
I feel like maybe Men in Black got their. They just picked some of the names of the races, at least in the first one, from stuff like this. But we've seen him come into live action. I say live action. We've seen him one time, I think, in live action. That was in Krypton season 2. I know him. Yes, he was in there. I know him best from I Love Lobo from the animated series. From the first, when he shows up in Superman, the animated series. He's just an awesome character. He's such a smart ass, kind of like me. I'm not pale. Well, I'm pretty pasty, but I'm not quite as pale white as he is. So, when they talked about in the DCEU about potentially having Lobo, obviously everybody thought Jason Momoa. You know, Jason Momoa is tall. He's got a pretty decent size to him. He's got the dreads. He's got that going on already. He looks like you would expect Lobo to look. They just got to paint him white.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, of Jason Momoa, like his two most prominent characters, I would say, obviously from Stargate Atlantis, we mentioned before, he played Ronan on that series. And then obviously Aquaman. Both of those characters, the way he plays both of those characters are really similar. Like they're pretty much the same character. And if you kind of combined both of those characters and added, like a hint of smartassness, you would get Lobo. And like even in like his character, the way he looked in Atlantis, I just bulk up and you have Lobo. Like quite frankly, like so he's the perfect casting for it if this is the case. So again, that's why I said I was kind of excited. It makes me intrigued. As far as his entrance into the DCU, I do. It is very early on again, so bringing him in as maybe I'm assuming he's going to be the bad guy as opposite of Millie, or is that her name? What's her name?
Millie.
It is. Okay, yeah. From House of Dragon that's been cast as Supergirl. So a very, very odd dichotomy there. So, but I'm here for it. It's cool. We're getting into aliens and shit. Let's do it.
So Lobo has always been really he's more of an anti-hero. He isn't all bad, but he is not all good. Now, he has been prominently known for going up against people such as Superman. In the animated series, he was contracted to capture Superman as being the last Kryptonian by a race that collected endangered species. So they capture him, they fight, and he holds his own pretty well against his race is nearly, the Valorpians and them. They were nearly immortal. Even when he becomes when they redo his character and he's retconned, they do him as a Zarnian. They are still a very, very powerful race that basically got wiped out by a poison by the Scions. So he's always been very, very powerful. Notably, some of his other biggest adversaries is Supergirl in the comics. Now, the other interesting part of that, in the comics, listed as basically one of his friends, like that Lobo would list as one of his friends, is Guy Gardner. So it's interesting that we are going to see Guy Gardner in the Superman movie. We've already seen him. Now it kind of adds credence to, okay, now you're talking about bringing Lobo in. Well, because Guy used to run a bar that Lobo went to. So it's kind of like one of those things that like they're putting these little pieces in there that are just kind of all gonna, hopefully, make a decent looking fucking puzzle. It's just, I don't know. It's a little weird for me to have Aquaman as Lobo in the DCU when you're trying to do a complete separation, right? Like you want a clean break, and you've already kind of have bent that rule a little bit by keeping Peacemaker and the Economos and Waller. You're keeping them to voice in Creature Commandos, as well as bringing them into season 2 of Peacemaker, still keeping them in season 2. So you're bending your rule a little bit because you said you wanted a clean break. Now, if you bring Momoa in as Lobo, you've completely broken your fucking rule about wanting to completely separate.
Yeah, and again, I know that was all the speculation of a clean break. Again, I've read that as rumors and quoted here and there. I mean, they're never. I don't know if James Gunn actually said that, but I think that's the sentiment from most of everyone for sure. And yeah, it's like that kind of goes against that reasoning for sure. However, I will say, if they do the get up right and the makeup right, I mean, you're not gonna. It'll be kind of obviously the. It's not the same character, but I'm okay. I'm gonna let it slide again. I think because just if there ever been like a perfect cast for a character, like because we were discussing this in another video about Booster Gold and perfect characters that are perfect actors that would be cast as that character. Like I don't know, man. Like he's like just the perfect cast for that character, in my opinion. If they're doing the version of the bounty hunter on the bike with the dreads and that whole
I gotta imagine you would, because that's what was most popular, right? That's what revived the character. That's why he got retconned, is that they revived him into something cool, and that's been how Lobo's been, that we've seen him as. So it's like, why would you go and try to bring it back to the origins? Now, after seeing like the Green Lantern suit and some of the other decisions made, I'm really worried that they might, because I don't really know what's going on with this universe thus far. So I'm of the same way. I love Lobo as a character, and I think Jason Momoa is absolutely perfect for the role. So I'd be willing to let it slide. It's how many more things are you going to let slide that violate? If we had to lose everything we had because, damn it, I've been waiting for Darkseid to show up on the big screen, and or a good Doomsday on the big screen. I'm not counting what was at the end of Batman v Superman. That like I feel like I'm never going to get these characters because they got to go back and we're starting over, we're starting fresh, and it's like, I will say it's a little odd because we're not starting from the beginning. We are like jumping into this universe already in progress. So maybe we'll get to some of these bigger stories quicker this way, and maybe that was the hope.
Could be. I mean, and I get the reservation of kind of like you said, breaking that rule, but I'll equate this to like a sports analogy, because in football and basketball and baseball, your armchair quarterbacks are always going to complain and bitch about the coach. He's just not getting the right plays in. He's just not, the roster he's built is terrible. It just doesn't make any sense. And of course, fans are saying this stuff in the preseason, whatever. Fast forward to, I don't know, 2 months into the NFL season and your team's 7-1. All of a sudden, people aren't bitching about shit because winning cures everything. So I get it. However, if this movie and the role, and he does a fantastic job, no one is going to give two fucks about that he played Aquaman. No one is going to care.
Leave it to Mantis to bring a sports reference into this, okay? He gets on me about the cars all the time, and he brings in the sports all the time.
It's the perfect reference, though, I think. That's the only reason.
It works. It works. I don't know. I'd be excited to see. I thought the actor who played him in Krypton in season 2 there did well.
Yeah. What was his name? Emmett J. Scanlon. That's who it was. But yeah, he looks Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead, kind of actually. But
You know,
anyway,
he
yeah.
wasn't as bulked up. Like he wasn't, you know, again, because throughout the comics,
Yeah.
throughout his run, because you know he's had his own comic book, but then he's also appeared in other comic books and other storylines and all that. And you know, whoever does him a little differently. Sometimes he's big and bulky. Other times he is skinnier, and his abilities fluctuate too.
I was gonna say one funny thing is I wonder if they're gonna keep the Australian accent with him, because he had an Australian accent, right? Like in Krypton, if I remember right. It's
In
been a while since I've
Krypton,
seen
that guy, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
99% certain that guy did. It's been a little while since I've seen it too.
I think the Australian accent just works with Lobo for some reason. I know it's not, obviously there's no alien Australian accent, obviously, but like for some reason,
Who's not to say the Zarnians and the Australians aren't you know, don't share a kinship,
Maybe-
okay?
Yeah, maybe they both hate emus, you know? It's like army on the emus. But yeah, I think if I want them to keep that accent, I think it's hilarious and I think it works because it's kind of pompous and kind of asshole-ish, and I don't know. It's just something about the Australian accent that
If Lobo's going to have an accent of any Earth accent that you're going to, because obviously it's a human playing him, I feel like Australian is the perfect. Like if he's going to have an accent, I think Australian works.
Yeah, I do. Or Irish, I guess, or could work too, because they're
Irish is a little. It gets a little, because if it's too heavy of an Irish accent, then it gets drowned out, right?
We'll have to have subtitles,
right?
If it's Irish.
Been drinking some like Earth whiskey and stuff, and the next thing you know, it's on, man, or Scotch. You know, it's game over. But let us know, what do you think his accent should be, and who is your choice for Lobo? If you could see one person play Lobo, is it Jason Momoa? Is it somebody else? Is it bringing this guy back from Krypton? You know, I felt bad that series only got a 2-season run, but
yeah, me too. I actually like that. I think it's just because it was one of those sci-fi things or sci-fi channel things, and it was just, you know.
Yeah, but like I love the way they did, you know, the look of Doomsday, and I love all the stuff they did. How they even with Brainiac and all.
Second season was fire. The second season was fire
with it, and it's just, of course, just like Stargate Atlantis, which starred Jason Momoa again. They just fucking cancel it out of the blue, you know. Thanks, Sci-Fi Channel. You know, you make a channel for us nerds, and then you piss us off by just canceling everything.
It's actually kind of frustrating because there's been several made for TV movies on Sci-Fi, and now we're getting into tangents here, but also series like this that I don't know how they got the rights to this. It's very weird that they did, but you know, it turned out great, and you know, I don't know. I agree. Let us know in the comments, you know, if this is something that you even think Lobo should be in. Do you think they should go this direction with it, or do you think they should kind of ease off and because there is rumor as well, this is also in the article, that they're doing a Lobo movie, a standalone movie. So with it, which again, you have the star power there with Jason Momoa. I'm not saying he can't hold his own in a movie like that, but I think it would be more of a leaning into what you described him as, an anti-hero, right? Like that's how you could do that standalone movie.
Well, I think again we've talked about many times here, and this will be final thoughts here, is that, you know, a movie centered behind a villain, it just doesn't work when you're dealing with superheroes, right? You want an anti-hero. Deadpool, which is getting ready to release. At the time of recording, it's not going to be the time it releases, but at the time of recording, Deadpool's releasing next week. So Deadpool and Wolverine, as well as this coming weekend. Well, no, it'll be next weekend as well. We've got Comic-Con. So that's kind of interesting that we're going to have Comic-Con the same weekend as Deadpool releases. It's like, what's going to happen there? But I also imagine we are going to get a whole bunch of other Superman
new announcements,
and Marvel news, right? So we're probably going to have quite a few videos coming from San Diego Comic-Con. Yeah, so with all of that happening, we'll be bringing you, we'll probably have quite a few videos. We've been releasing more and more here lately, just because there's been so much news. So yeah, we'll be following up, maybe we'll get some more information on the Supergirl and confirmation that Lobo, actual, you know, concrete confirmation that Lobo is going to be in that movie, or if it'll end up being a standalone project. So
or both.
Yeah, we got 2 Batmans apparently in this fucking universe. Why not? Right? This is Elseworlds timeline. We're just going fucking crazy. All that. Now, guys, if you have made it with us this far, we definitely do appreciate it. Consider hitting the like button. He's going to show you where. Now, I say that, like I say hitting the like button, he's showing you where. That's not where the actual button is. It's just where the graphic is. The like button still is down where it normally is, but he's just telling you it's just what to do. Because then, I know you got to subscribe. If you've made it with us and you like the video, you might as well go ahead and subscribe, right? And then let us know down in the comments, how do you feel about Lobo? Do you think Supergirl is the appropriate platform, to release her on? You got too many people in Superman as it is, so I don't think it should be there. And then who do you want to see as Lobo? And is he your favorite character? Now, for the rest of you, we have a new series / set of videos coming out here on the channel that are going to be a more of a informational, much shorter, and really just kind of given a lot more specific information, because us discussing everything and the details we go into, sometimes we can't give you all the information about a particular character, such as Lobo. But we are going to have an informational series of videos coming out that is going to discuss characters. We're going to start with the characters in the DCU that have already been announced, and we'll slowly kind of go down the line there. If you do have a favorite that you would like to see us do a video on, let us know down in the comments, and we will make sure we put that towards the top of the list.
Yes. Have some.
I need a button for there's Mantis with the awkward pauses.
Yeah. Again, we do appreciate all the comments and like and subscribe, and does help the channel a lot. And leave us some comments about what other videos of that series you want to see, which characters maybe you don't know too much about and want a little bit more info on, and don't want to go researching all day on Google and all that nonsense.
I felt like I just said that, and then you just basically said the exact same thing I just did.
Awkward pause 2.
All right.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
All right, guys. I'm sure you've probably hit your threshold for dealing with our insanity here. We do appreciate it. For you, me, and DC, that is going to do it for this episode. Until next time, we will see you then.
Later.